Kind of risky, because he kind of stands out, doesn't he? Malioron. The return of the king. Bit of a different king, of course, at this point in time. Set the stage. Get rid of the mementos. I mean, it'll happen regardless, but he's giving it his best shot. It's those two bodies again. Ah, okay. Interesting. He's got something up his sleeve. If he can find the right host, I suppose. Okay, so right now she's actively got it covered. Yeah, go on. Wow. Okay. Oh, cool. How clutch. Because you only really need to see one of each. And through association or proximity. Yeah, that. Good to have limits. Ground it a bit. Oh, it's gonna remove it? Replace it, rather. I like it. Poof is still poof, though. You'll know at all times. The base, poof. Oh, she just clocked the thing Moral kind of overlooked. Oh, I like this. She had her own input. Significant input there. Of course. Oh, he's still there. But I know someone's looking for him. Speak of the devil. Susume. Oh, interesting. Look at this. Yeah. 2 guards. The crazy thing is only one of them might come back. Oh, he didn't pick up on it. Okay, Poof's asking him to say this, of course. Oh, look at this. Oh. I mean, this has to be Poof as well, right? But how? This changes so much now, so much. I'm surprised Gon didn't react to anything, didn't pick up on anything there. Yeah, it's definitely Poof, but... I'm not sure how I feel about that this late in the game. To bring that in. That's insane. That Pito now thinks that she's safe. He's staging Yeah, he's staging it for them to see. My god, the greatest little shit of all. Poof. Oh god. End of the line. This is it. He's got to face it now. Okay. Okay. Fix him. Yeah, she must be thinking, oh god. Ooh. Yeah, she understands the importance of names at this point. That's for sure. Whoa, look at that immediate shift. Oh. Oh god. This is straight from the source as well, right? Pito saying this to him. Oh god, yeah. I suppose she finally released him, right? The puppet. Thankfully, man, like, to see his body reanimated like that just felt so wrong, right? So, let it be the end of that at least. Yeah, he's broken. Oh, so she's remembering now. Or at least parts of it now. Yeah. And she seemed really disappointed back then, right? On the couch. There's a missing component. Killua knows about it. And she knows about it too. Yeah, that's why she was so disappointed. Oh. I believe that's sincere. It is. Oh god. Oh god. Look at him. Like a helpless child. He's in a state of trance. Limbo almost. That's the best you're gonna get, Pop. Oh, just like a Kalgo. More friends. Yeah, go on, do your thing. You know, Pito's had her own experiences, right? She understands this type of loss, or the possibility of this type of loss. Yeah. This is him actually getting to grieve for the first time. I mean, accepting it. There's no other option, right? I mean, even his eyes look soulless at this point, right? Here it comes. Survivor's guilt. Immense. And how do I face Jin now, right? Oh, look at this. Look at this.
俺がのこのこついていったからやっぱり俺から離れろ。俺のせいでカイトは違う。俺じゃない。
Ooh, look at this.
殺したのは人だ。
The internal strife.
でも俺が
Oh my god.
カイトを殺したのは俺。違う。あいつだ。でも
It kind of reminds me of Shinji.
俺がカイトが死んだ。カイトが死んだ。助けて。
Oh,
誰か助けて。
yeah.
カイトが
A reminder that he is a child at the end of the day. Look at this.
カイトが
Helpless.
誰がカイトを助けて。違う。でも
Wow.
なんだ。助けてくれるのか。
Oh my god, look at that. Immediately latched onto.
そうか。本当だ。死んでるなんて嘘だ。
Oh my god.
ちゃんと直してくれるんだ。
No, it's Pito's arm, but you know.
なんで自分の腕直してるの。カイトを元に戻してよ。お願いだよ。その後でいいからちゃんと。
This is tough, man.
ピトが直してるのはカイトじゃなくて自分自身。
And now,
そのそばでゴンがへたり込んでるの。
because of that false information, Pito's going to move ahead.
この子が俺たちの手にあればピトは逆らえないはずなのに。
You gotta love Poof. I mean, you need this in the entire dynamic. Oh,
お願いだよ。カイトを。
wow. It's heartbreaking stuff, man, to see him like this. I mean, you know, it's something I've been talking about since episode 85, but to see it happen is still, yeah, it's a crushing feeling. Okay, into the 130s now. Yeah, it's big. But, you know, 45 episodes later, right? Since episode 85, a monumental episode, an episode that had so much setup, right? Of course, it had some, you know, beginnings and endings, but there's just so much in episode 85 that is just now finally kind of being addressed as far as Gon is concerned. There's no running anymore. It's a dead end, right? As him and Neferpito descend into that little tunnel, into that one room, as that empty husk, the body of the late Kite still just sits there, and it's just so ominous and just so jarring. And like I said, you know, if not anything else, it's just a good thing that, you know, that reanimated body has been just dismissed for good, right? But yeah, this is it. No more delusions, none of that. And everything that was suppressed back in episode 85, you know, by the conclusion of episode 85, and then even going back to episode 116, much more recently, everything that's been put on, you know, on hold. Again, the delusions, essentially. Because, you know, ultimately it goes from, okay, no chance Kite's going to let that thing beat him, right? No chance, if you look at episode 85's ending. And then episode 116, it's more so about, okay, she can fix him. She can heal him. No problem, right? I can bring Kite back. I can help Kite through Neferpito's help, right? Of course, you know, I'll give her a lot of incentive to stay in line and actually do this for me. But, you know, it's just step after step, more delusions until there's just no more space for it. This is it, right? I've been dreading this. I've been expecting this, but it's still really, really quite difficult to watch. It really is, especially because of the actual breakdown. This time it's a bit different than episode 116. I mean, at the most basic level, it's the same thing that's happening here. His mind is just broken, right? Back in episode 116, there's no release for all of that rage and hatred. The urge, the immense urge for retribution. He had no release for it, and he just couldn't fathom that. He just hated that the person that he wanted to lash out on is protecting someone and is submissive, and all of that is not open to engaging immediately. So there, he had that whole thing did a number on him psychologically. And now, it's, somehow he kind of, again, goes to that place and allows himself to be deluded again, right? Delusional, rather. And he locks in, completely just locks in. Up until quite recently, there's just no emotion. For a long stretch at this point, no emotion from Gon up until now. It's a release that's a little bit similar to Killua's release as well, back in episode 124. Totally different types of mindsets, I suppose, but yeah, both of them got their release, right? It's heartbreaking, it is, to see Gon like this, right? The shift that happens is so sudden and so jarring, him kind of shifting back to that, really childlike mindset. Just the actual depiction of Gon in that moment. A lot of times you'll see the framing of the shots, and they'll show him just as this little kid, right? Helpless. He's essentially, begging for help, asking for help. He has no idea how to address this any further now. He wants anyone who can help to help him, help Kite, fix him, bring him back. It's not me really piling on or anything, but this is a discussion point I had back in episode 85, right? The survivor's guilt, and the notion that being there alongside Kite played a part in Kite getting caught up in all of this. But before I go any further, let me just kind of reiterate a point I made back in episode 85. Kite still probably would have died anyways, right? If he actually engaged in a one-on-one. He would have. But again, at that moment in time, his priority is getting Gon and Killua out of there, or giving them as much time as possible to get out of there. So, it's night and day, because if he is by himself, he doesn't have to have anything else on his mind. But then going back to Gon's perspective in this episode, now it's just him kind of, looking down the barrel at this point, First of all, really truly understanding that Kite is gone. He can't be fixed. And this is coming from the source, the one person that is meant to be, fixing this, that has the capacity to fix something like this. She's telling me, I'm sorry, but, this is it. He's gone. His soul has left him. I cannot bring him back. And before I go any further, this idea of the soul and Neferpito really truly understanding it as well. It's a cool moment, like a full circle moment. In that episode, I spoke of it in this episode as well. Her being really quite disappointed once she does reanimate Kite, because it's not quite the same Kite, right? And you could just tell now that she's kind of read up on it, or she's come to understand that there is a really significant component that's missing here, and that's the soul. Without the soul, this is just a little puppet, a puppet that she thankfully finally released. And then, of course, like I mentioned, this is something Killua understood, right? He's always known. Even though, Killua almost has this moment at the end of episode 85 as Gon, reassures him, no, Kite's alive. He's got to be alive. Right, he can't let that thing beat him. Yes, it's uplifting for Killua, but again, realistically, he knew deep down that, of course, Kite's gone. Listen, I think deep down, really deep down, right, buried deep, within Gon, is that he also knew. A part of him always knew, right? That's the whole idea, that it's been suppressed until there's no escape anymore, and you have to face it, right? But you see, that internal strife. The yin and yang within Gon. One half of him is trying to accept all of the blame, take all of the blame, And it's really quite damning, isn't it? Because like I said, his eyes look just soulless at that point as well. He may as well be just as soulless as the reanimated corpse of Kite. At that point, it's as simple as him just almost not having any reason to continue. I mean, at that point, Gon himself is also essentially this empty husk, right? Like I said, it just appears to be in this state of trance, a state of limbo, right? Because yes, there's this internal strife that kind of kicks in a little bit later on, but right now, I don't know, it doesn't seem promising in terms of, Gon getting over this, like at all. But yeah, ultimately that really crushing internalized guilt has openly manifested at this point, right? And he's forced to face it. And, as he's forced to face it all, you see the optics of it, he goes back to looking like a sad little child, helpless, completely helpless at that point. But then again, there's that other part of him that still kind of needs this release, right? And it's trying to pin it back on Pito. No, it wasn't you, it was Pito. She's the enemy here. Last shot on Pito. And that's just pulling him apart in all kinds of directions internally, right? It's really, really quite heartbreaking to see this young child try to, handle this. He's not equipped to handle it. It's the same thing I said back in episode 116. He's simply not equipped to handle this, right? I mean, this is something incredibly tough for even adults. And as impressive as he is for his age, he remains a child, right? And he's trying to navigate these crushing emotions, right? Such as immense guilt, survivor's guilt through inaction, and like I mentioned, he simply must be thinking of that aspect as well. How do I possibly face Jing now, right? You go back to the introduction of Kite here in the 2011 Hunter x Hunter, right? He immediately latches onto Kite as well because of his association with Jing, right? Kite's association with Jing, that is, this is an important figure to his father. So since then, he immediately latched on. And listen, there's always that discussion point about how 2011 handles the introduction of Kite and how the original 99 Hunter x Hunter handles the introduction of Kite. Now, having seen episode 1 from 99 Hunter x Hunter, this relationship makes complete sense to me. Or, this attachment to Kite and this reaction to losing Kite, it makes a lot of sense, complete sense. And that's simply because it was made abundantly clear that this figure, Kite, is really quite important to Gon, right? In Gon's life and Gon's trajectory from that point on. If you go back to, episode 1 from 99, he is the one who helps him kick it all off, puts him on that path, right? Now, if I didn't see episode 1 from 99, yeah, like I said, a little bit before, it might have been a bit of a different take on all of this. But listen, even if you set that aside, this idea of, okay, maybe 2011 doesn't do enough to justify or set it up properly that this is actually someone that's quite significant in Gon's life, someone that means quite a bit to him, there's still always that element of survivor's guilt, right? From Gon's perspective. And playing a part in someone's death. Essentially at this point in time, thinking that you played a major part. You had a major hand in that person's death just by, being there, by tagging along, by being, stubborn, all of those things. So, even if you overlook the whole, relationship with Kite, you can also look at it from that aspect, getting someone killed. And then, of course, there's always that notion of Gon's pride, right? And, I kind of touched up on it a little bit earlier, that looming shadow of Jing. How am I going to face Jing after all of this? And at times, near the conclusion of this episode, it was kind of beginning to remind me of the beginning, right? Like the opening of God of War, the original God of War. I know there's a whole generation that doesn't really know that God of War back on the PlayStation 2. But, just to specify the mindset that Kratos finds himself in that opening, right? It kind of reminded me a bit of Gon in this episode. And, ultimately Gon's inability to accept death really led to this moment, right? Like I said, this is him finally actually grieving Kite's death, right? It's just been, kind of pent up in there this entire time. It's just, just that aspect of it, that it took him this long, his psyche, everything. It took this long for him to finally actually get to grieve for Kite, really truly understand it. And, for the first time in a long time, in a long time, I get internal dialogue, internal monologue, right? And it's really, really quite tough to watch it, isn't it? Because all of it is just really quite a damning self-assessment. His mind is just now beginning to process it, and it's difficult. It's perhaps one of the biggest challenges of all for him up until this point in his life, right? It's crushing him, the internal strife of it all, right? Like I said, it's pulling him into all kinds of directions at this point. And, one of the most heartbreaking things is to see him almost immediately latch on to that idea of, oh, okay, hold on. All of this is just a big misunderstanding, big mistake. As he sees Dr. Blythe being summoned, he's like, okay. It was a lie. She is going to help him. She is going to save him. Forget all of that. Let's latch onto this. It's crazy how quickly his mind tries to latch onto the last glimmer of hope, any glimmer of hope, as delusional as it may be, right? Though also, from another angle, you can look at it as his mind really trying to protect him in terms of trying to redirect that thirst for, hatred and, retribution towards Neferpito. Pito did this. She killed Kite. She's the one to blame, Don't blame yourself. Listen, ultimately, did Neferpito kill Kite? Yeah, sure. But, as you know, I think I even said it back in episode 85. I don't know. I just don't have this idea of, hating Pito or, thinking that Pito's evil. I remember saying that it's just in their nature, right? If you look at it from Neferpito's perspective, she was just kind of proactively trying to protect the nest and the queen, going after something that kind of, turned up on her radar, something special, of course, in Kite. So even now at this point, you see that Pito's quite a changed individual as well, as you see in the behavior in this episode, how she addresses Gon, how she asked Gon's name, because she understands the importance of names, right? Through her own experiences with her own king, right? Through Komugi. And like I said, I think they made it really quite clear that, Neferpito is being sincere. There's a beautiful shot of her, kind of turning her head and looking back at Gon as he just completely breaks down and shuts down. You see that she's empathetic in that moment. She is. She most definitely understands, or she is able to understand this dynamic now, right? Gon's feelings towards Kite, because she has a similar dynamic with her king. So yeah, I think it's pretty clear that she meant that, as she apologizes, I am sorry, right? Be it for, you feeling like this, or, this person that you really cared for cannot come back, cannot be brought back. And you see that even after finding out that Komugi is safe, of course, it's all made up, through FILMBuFF and his new ability. I mean, of course, it's always existed. But this is the first time they're showing it to me as an audience member, and you saw my reaction to it. I thought maybe it's a bit too late, a bit too late to be introducing something that incredible, something that major. Maybe if they showed me a bit of it earlier on, right? Him doing something a little bit similar a little bit earlier on, then it wouldn't have felt this, out of left field, that he can actually, straight up just change at a cellular level and look like someone else. Right now, I assumed, okay, he's doing the voice, Komugi's voice, but then it cuts to Velfin, and then again FILMBuFF looking just like Komugi, right? So it's a little bit jarring. I'll be honest. It kind of felt like it came out of left field. It's a big deal because the whole thing pivots on that. Neferpito believing that it's Komugi on the other end, right? And now her mindset is completely different, right? But before I move on and kind of focus a bit more on that, you see that even after she finds out that, okay, Komugi is safe, right? Our people have her again. She's still respectful of Gon. She treats him with respect. It's not as if she's all of a sudden, okay, good, Komugi's safe now. I don't have to comply. I don't have to be respectful. I don't have to do anything. You see the true new Neferpito on display, on showcase. I truly feel that she's being sincere in all of it. Though listen, again, ultimately her allegiance is with the king. Her priority is the king, and you see that she's getting ready, right? She is getting ready to essentially take Gon out, right? They set this up. She's resolved to taking care of this issue that could snowball and, maybe down the line become an issue for the king. So you see now she's kind of getting, or she's taking care of that handicap, right? I mean, even without that arm, she could easily take Gon out right now, right? And that's the thing that is a little bit puzzling at the moment. Puzzling in the sense that, it's exciting. Because one thing they've made clear, right? And, I kind of even, spoke on it, that there's a really good chance only one of them comes back out from, that chamber, from that room. And, I've shared my thoughts on it, that, most likely it is about to be Gon that's going to come out of there, right? Because I'm not expecting Gon to die here. And, I shared my thoughts about, essentially, basically all of them dying being the most likeliest scenario here. The royal guards and then, possibly the king as well, most likely. Again, there's a talking point that I had in the last episode that was kind of cut off from the recording, and it has to do with the fact that, all three of them, Meruem, FILMBuFF, and Yuppie, have gone through, radioactive nuclear fallout material, right? So as of this point, it hasn't really, come into play, but there's still, there's still time yet. There's still time yet. Let's see if that is going to manifest within them soon enough. But yeah, going back to my point about Dr. Blythe healing Neferpito's arm, another thing that they've made really, really quite clear is that Gon cannot do anything against Neferpito. It's as clear as that, I mean, Ikalgo straight up said that even if all of them team up, they cannot do anything to Neferpito, right? So now there's this unknown for me as an audience member, right? That it simply has to be, if something is to happen to Neferpito here, right? It has to be something unknown, something I've never seen before. It's as simple as that. It has to be. Now, by the end of this episode, you don't see Gon taking action or anything, lashing out on Neferpito, even though, one part of him internally is urging him, is trying to, get him to channel all of that hatred back into Neferpito. But the fact of the matter is, Neferpito is going to, at some point in the next episode, most likely, or at most in the episode after that, she is going to have to take Gon out, right? So Neferpito stepping up and making it clear that, okay, this is how it has to be. That, maybe that could be the shift. Maybe that could lead to something. Let's see, because as of this point, it's clear as day. Gon cannot do anything against her because, that part of Gon that's within him is going to see that, okay, she hasn't, kept her word. She hasn't healed Kite, and now she's going to attack me. She wants to kill me, right? And of course, FILMBuFF is just loving all of this. That's the whole, point of this. He wants Palm to see it all, right? To see, okay, you look, Neferpito is going to attack your boy, right? So, of course, FILMBuFF's hoping that, okay, in all of that, Komugi gets caught up in all of this as well, and they end up taking on Komugi or harming Komugi, right? Of course, that's never going to happen, neither Palm or Killua could even imagine that. But of course, Poof doesn't know this. But, I've got to say, I just loved Poof's role in all of this. I did. He's just being the best little shit, isn't he? Right? Absolute menace. And like I said, you need this. You simply need someone like this at play in this whole dynamic, right? This master manipulator, master strategist. And it's just incredibly entertaining to watch him in all of his wicked glory, isn't it? And of course, his manipulation of his own king continues as well, right? Again, he believes it's for, the great cause, for a good cause, for the ultimate cause. But again, there's self-serving reasons in there as well, Listen, I'm not saying that, everyone must enjoy Poof or everyone must like Poof, but I'm just saying as a character, I just think he's so integral in all of this, in this whole dynamic. But also, kind of circling back to some of the stuff that was cut off in the last episode's discussion about the dynamic between Meruem and Yuppie and Poof. This idea of him, again, trying to manipulate Meruem at this point in time, right? Trying to, redirect, reset his king. yeah, I spoke of, or, I gave my thoughts on how, Meruem actually finding out that, okay, Poof is trying to, actively betray me, right? He's trying to manipulate me. He's trying to set the stage for me to forget things. I spoke of how Meruem would possibly deal with something like that at this point in time. And, another thing I noticed in this episode is that there's not much from Yuppie at all. There's nothing from Yuppie actually, right? No thoughts. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't share anything in this episode. Just keeps to himself alongside Meruem and Poof. Poof is the one who's, of course, trying to fill the king in on all the details, the human grapes and all of that, and trying to set the stage, getting rid of the Gungi board. Though I think it's futile, because ultimately I've always felt that the king's going to remember Komugi anyways, because she's such an integral component of his buildup at this point, of his psychology, right? As as showcased once again in the last episode, as he's beginning to remember that he's forgetting something quite important. But to go back to Pito and kind of finish up my points on that, her empathy at this moment is such a great character development beat, isn't it? Like I said, it's completely sincere, and she's able to completely understand these dynamics now, right? Because of her own experiences as well since that night in the NGL. She's not the same Neferpito that Gon came across all that time ago. Now she completely understands how someone could mean this much to someone else. And you see that she legitimately wanted to know Gon's name as well and address him with his name, right? Much like how her king wanted to know his own name, right? And she kind of learned the importance of names at that point as well. But there's one thing that's kind of new in this episode. It appears that she didn't actually remember Kite, or who Gon is speaking of. But of course, once she does see Kite, the reanimated body of Kite, she understands, oh, this is the person that Gon's going on and on about. This is his person that he wants me to heal. Up until this point, until she actually laid eyes on Kite again, the reanimated body of Kite, she didn't actually even completely understand that Gon is actually asking her to bring someone back from the dead. And, out of respect, she kept it really, really clear. She told him straight up, I cannot do that. This person has moved on. Their soul has moved on. I cannot do that. At one point she even said something like, I was unable to revive one who was dead, right? Because his soul is no longer here. And now she sees this is the person that Gon wanted her to heal this entire time. And, the thing is, the narrator actually even said something, right? This is, some time ago at this point, around the time Gon came into that room, Komugi's room, as Neferpito's healing her. And Gon is addressing her. I believe the narrator actually did say that, Neferpito didn't actually hear anything Gon said. So now, there's this element of, okay, Gon potentially or possibly thinking she lied to me, right? That might actually, pile on as well in his mind. Once they do, come to blows at some point, given, again, Neferpito's resolve to take this possible issue out, possible issue being Gon. So at that point, Neferpito had no idea that she's promising to bring someone back from the dead, right? So now it makes her a liar, essentially, in Gon's mind. But yeah, going back to Gon and the imagery that I'm seeing in this episode of Gon, to see him in this state, it's tough. It really is quite tough. The denial, the anger, again, the immense guilt, the crushing guilt, the pain of loss. And there's that, immense loss of innocence that's on showcase, right, through Gon. Like I said, he's impressive in other regards, but this is not something he's equipped for in life. Especially because, there's just no support, right? Yes, there's this idea of him pushing everyone aside as well, including Killua, and kind of, really locking in on this, this need for retribution, the hatred that's just, raging through him. But I still maintain that at some level, some of the adults of this anime, some of the adults of this story rather, that are, in his first circle of characters, they failed him. They failed this kid, this child. And listen, before I go any further, let me just kind of clarify something. I'm not saying that Gon actually is to blame completely for Kite's death, right? Because ultimately, Kite made the choice to let them come. He made a calculated decision, right? He understood the risks of it as well, of course. He let them come. But, going back to my expectations of, the things to come now, immediately after this, as much as it seems like, you know, Gon actually has nothing left in him at this point, I just don't see how Gon could possibly die here, right? It's just exceedingly unlikely. Maybe I should, you know, explore that a bit further. Maybe Gon could die here. I don't know. See, I say that, but then immediately I just have to, you know, pull out of that thought process, because of course, you know, there's a whole Jing and Gon aspect. I've always felt that he is going to come across Jing at some point. So I don't know, man. It just feels so unlikely that Gon is going to die here. But that's a thing. That's a crazy thing about this. It feels like he's just kind of there now for Neferpita to take out, right? So there's this unknown that's got me really quite excited and on edge as well at the same time. But yeah, you know, going back to Gon, it's been coming for some time now, right? It's been something I've been dreading, and it happened. And, you know, once that shift happens and there's just nothing to latch onto anymore for Gon, and, you know, that devastating loss of purpose and the most devastating reality check, yeah, it's got him all alone at this point, you know, left to tackle this alone. And, you know, the thing is, like I said, it's something he wanted in the first place, to be left alone, that he'll do this by himself. But now, you know, he has to, I mean, he tried, you know, handling the psychological collapse, but yeah, it's not looking good. But yeah, I think that should do it for this one, folks. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in early access or timer-based full length or full opacity, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel as well in the process. The links are in the description and the pinned comment, also links to social media. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for episode 131. Until then, take it easy.